This is Barbara the Barbarian. Part 1. Barbara takes pole from Amazon. Barbara opened her eyes. The sound of an overactive hoot owl rang in her ears. Crickets and night creatures brought her into her surroundings, rousing her from her slumber. She sat up completely bewildered, as if she were dreaming, because this was not her life. The grass was green and lush. The trees were tall and numerous. She stood up carefully, as if any fast movement would reject her from the bizarre dream world. The owl hooted once again. This time it seemed much closer than before because of the full use of her faculties. Barbara flinched and said, "What the fuck?" She looked around, attempting to make sense of it all, then glanced down to find that she had not a stitch of clothes on. It didn't matter how drunk she was. She had never in her life gotten tits out drunk. "Hello?" She yelled out periodically while stumbling in the darkness, barefoot and naked. She stopped abruptly and heard a rustle in the bushes. Barbara's first instinct was to run to the noise, but she dispelled that thought almost as fast as she thought it. Wouldn't it be hilariously ironic if she signaled whoever it was that roofied and raped her? Wouldn't that just be a laugh? Barbara lay in wait behind a bush, hoping to see whatever it was before it saw her. She stayed perfectly still and noticed two forms approaching. She could see the two people when they passed through a ray of moonlight. They were very tall, very lean women with spiky wooden poles and red painted stripes on their body that made her think of tigers. Barbara was even more confused now than she was then. They barely had clothes on themselves. Did someone put her in some sort of fucked up Hunger Games shit and nobody told her? These women had some sort of animal skin covering their lower halves, and only one had skins covering her breasts. Barbara took a moment to weigh the options and decided that the unspoken bond of sisterhood was enough to straighten this out. She slowly approached the two women. They instantly clutched their pole arms with two hands and thrusted it in her direction. Barbara instantly regretted showing herself. Sisterhood, the fuck was that? "Hello," she said to the two lean women that reminded her of Grace Jones and Conan the Destroyer. She felt a wooden spear tip touch the small of her back. She jumped up and spun around expertly, knocking the pole away. She saw behind her another Amazon woman holding a spear to her. She hoped that she wasn't annoyed that she did that, because she truly did not want to run blindly through a forest, ass naked, from red tiger-striped Amazons. The other lean, tall woman at her back was not offended she blocked her pole arm, but curious. "Look, ladies, I really don't know where the fuck I am, and from the looks of your clothes, or lack of clothes, I'm guessing you've been out here longer than me," said Barbara. One of the three women reached out for her with one hand resting on her pole. Barbara squinted her eyes suspiciously. The lean woman kept reaching until it touched her breast. "Are you fucking serious?" Barbara whispered to herself. The woman copping a feel spoke to the other in a language that had some vague semblance to English, but not enough for her to understand it. The foreign language distracted her from the lazy move that was being pulled on her. The other two women leaned in and began feeling Barbara up slowly, as if exploring her. "If you don't get your hands off of me, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you," said Barbara in a deathly stern voice. Barbara was just as tall as these women and slightly bigger, but her body was perfect, for lack of better words. Her breast was round, not too big or small, abs chiseled, and her waist gave off the perfect hourglass figure. Barbara's skin was mocha, like creamy coffee, and toned like the glossy sheen of a new car. She worked for her perfect body and was a Miss Fitness America contender. She specialized in martial arts, but mainly for her floor routines and the exercise drills. If these 1 little, 2 little, 3 little lesbians really came at her, chances were good she'd be poked full of holes. But it wasn't like she was going to stand there and take it like some helpless victim. The other women didn't seem as if they completely understood what she was saying, but they did seem to respond to the inflection. All but one backed down, as if whatever fascination they had with her body was not worth violating her space. But the last one didn't seem as if she cared. The red tiger-striped woman moved in as if she was going to kiss her perfect breasts, but found the fist of Barbara put in her face, rattling her jaw.
"I have lesbian friends. I want you to know that before I kick your ass,"
said Barbara to her groper. The woman who received the knuckle sandwich grunted and readied her spear to thrust it home. Barbara saw her try to place 2 hands on the pole, grabbed the weapon with both hands, and violently ripped it from her grip. The other 2 women got into attack positions, but held as if waiting for Barbara to make her move.
"Alright, I may have overreacted a bit, but you 2 were my witness. She damn near had her hand up my twat,"
said Barbara, backing away with the pole arm in hand. She wasn't a stranger to the weapon she had in her hand, but she was no expert either. The 2 women spoke to the 3rd woman who had been disarmed, then looked to Barbara. They both lowered their weapons. One cocked her head in a wordless gesture that said she should follow. Barbara lowered her weapon cautiously, then thought, what the hell, and followed them further into the woods. Look out for part 2. Like and subscribe.